Is the Bible real? Is it the true Word of God? In this video, we're going to take a look at what one of the most prominent clinical psychologists, university professors, and best-selling authors has to say about it. Jordan Peterson, a man who spent his entire professional life looking for scientific answers to human problems. And he has some very interesting things to say about the Bible, some things that I think might help some of you on your journey of faith. But before I get into the details of Mr. Peterson's views, I just want to say, if you like the views that we're creating here on this channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It would really mean a lot to me. Now, regarding Jordan Peterson and his opinions on the Bible and Christianity, it's important to know that he was not always a believer. In fact, as a teenager, Peterson decided that religion was for the ignorant, weak, and superstitious. And it wasn't until later in life that he came to the Christian faith. And that was after much struggle, study, and contemplation. And then finally, in his late 50s, he had finally concluded that the Bible was the most important book that ever existed. And now, when forced to consider if the Bible is true, he doesn't even bother with questions like, did Noah really build an ark? Or was Jonah really stuck inside a giant fish? Instead, he says that he discovered things far more important than answers to questions like that. When asked if the Bible is true, he says, not only is it true, he says it's way more true than just true. He calls it the precondition for truth. He says the Bible itself actually provides the basis for our ability to define truth. He calls it a meta-truth, a truth to define all truths. He goes on to say that even if we were to take a new approach to trying to define what truth is nowadays with everything that we know, using facts, data, even artificial intelligence, that we couldn't do it. It would be too impractical and even impossible. Firstly, because of the infinite number of facts that would have to be gathered. And secondly, even if we tried to combine these facts, we wouldn't end up with a great guide for action, because each of these facts would have to be prioritized, they'd have to be graded on an ethical scale. Whose scale are we going to use? In our postmodern age, outside of having the truth of the Bible, the only other means for defining truth has proven to be domination and power, and Jordan Peterson doesn't see that as sufficient for defining truth, and I would agree with him. So, whether the Bible is historically accurate, or if God is the actual author of its contents, it doesn't even come into play, because through his deep study, contemplation, and practical application of the Bible in his own life, he's come to believe it more than he ever could otherwise. He's realized that the only way to discover the truth of the Bible is by living out its lessons. Just as John 1:14 says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, he believes that we should embody the Word ourselves, the Logos, in our own lives, striving to be more Christ-like in how we choose to live our lives and bear our own crosses. And based on my own experience, I can tell you this is what I believe about the Bible. I think if you approach it from the same perspective, you too will come to understand the Bible in ways that data and facts could never convince you of. You too will come to see the Bible as being even more true than true, as Jordan Peterson says. Now, if you want to dig a little bit deeper on whether the Bible is true or not, check out my next video, where I review the book, What is the Bible?, written by best-selling author Rob Bell.